Good morning. Hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Lorna.
Magic
Happy
Monday.
Happy Magic Monday, guys. So it's not my fault.
It's not my fault.
How many times do we hear ourselves saying that or hear people around us saying that? And we wanted to dive into this topic today because it's a really good place to examine. The vast majority of people who come through our doors in our coaching work is a conversation that always begins about blaming the other person. So whether that's their boss, their partner, their kids, their parents, the administration, the weather, right? It's kind of a common launching pad into how they view the world and how they frame their experience. And it's a really important one to bring awareness to, because what we're all about is getting out of, unconscious patterns, getting out of bad habits, getting out of living on autopilot. But if we walk through the world blaming everybody for our predicaments, our current experiences, we're not getting very far.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, in the coaching world and with therapy, this is called victim mode, right? It's pointing the finger at someone else. Or, we want to say that the other side of the same coin is when we take all the guilt onto ourselves, because a lot of what we see is it's their fault, and that guy cut me off in traffic, and my boss is such an asshole, and these very, kind of angry outbursts. But sometimes people just do it within themselves. So we just want to make it clear that it's the same coin, right? It's just the other side of it. And what happens is that it keeps us stuck.
Yeah.
We are constantly pointing the finger outside of us or even at ourselves. We're not taking action. We're not looking at it from anything other than a place of, I can't do anything about this.
Right. Exactly.
And that A, is not true, and B, is keeping you in the same pattern over and over and over again.
So how do we wake up to that pattern, right? The whole idea here is we believe, and we've seen it personally in our own lives and in the women that we work with, that you have to kind of set back and say, well, anytime you're having a negative experience, a tough moment, a really challenging situation, there's a lesson in it for me. There's something here that I need to learn to grow and evolve. And by the way, if I don't, opportunities abound, keep coming back until we learn the lesson.
Right. And one of the ways to identify this in your life is when you're feeling like, why does this always happen to me? Mm-hmm. When you find yourself in that thing like, oh my gosh, how can I be here again? That's a red flag for you to pay attention to the fact that this is a pattern, and that maybe it's not just what's being done to you or what's happening to you, but it's actually maybe your part in it and what is there for you.
It's an absolutely fundamental step to move forward, and that's what we want, right? But if we stay caught in the spin cycle, as I call it, right? And then if only he did this, and can you believe how horrible that is? And she did this, and how come, what's wrong with them? And all of that. And we stay and we dwell in that place of blame and victimhood, where we're trying to constantly make our case for how wrong someone's behavior is, right? How many times do you walk into people, you say, you wouldn't believe what happened to me. And listen, this is not about, walking through and not feeling what you're feeling. Okay. There are certainly, these emotions can be absolutely pretty intense and real, depending on the scope of the situation. But do you want to live there? Do you want to stay there? And in order to get out of there, you have to bring awareness to, as Lorna, you said, is this something that is all too familiar, right? Does this tend to keep happening to you, right?
Yeah. And we can surround ourselves with people who are just going to yes us to that. Mm-hmm. They're going to say, you're so right. He's such a jerk. How can you do that? Right. And then we just stay in this place. And this is not helping us. This is not helping us grow. It's not helping us get out of the pattern. And so we have some questions for you guys today to ask yourselves, and to if you recognize this in your life and you want to change it, we have some questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is to ask yourself, how is this familiar?
Right, exactly. So do you find yourself saying, this is happening? You traded one argument for someone else, and you keep having that same argument with everybody. A boss leaves, you have the same conflict with the next boss.
Mm-hmm. Or your boss really reminds you of the relationship you had with your dad growing up. right?
Exactly.
Or something with your husband, and then you get a divorce, and then it's in your new relationship, right? It doesn't go away because you haven't learned a lesson from it.
Right.
Which is the second question, which is, what is in this for me?
Yeah. There, and again, life is like this. It gives us opportunities to grow and evolve and question, what do I do that, keeps allowing me to have this experience, right?
Yeah, and people can say, oh, well, you're blaming me now, but that's not the case. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not saying to take the blame away from the other person. What we're saying is take responsibility for your part in it.
Consider that you actually have a part to play in whatever challenging situation there is, right? And again, it's not that you can't hold someone accountable for, inappropriate behavior or language or actions against you, but what is your part? Consider the possibility that you have created part of the situation, and that's all we're saying.
And that
right?
You haven't maintained the boundary to make sure the behavior stops.
Right.
That there's something that you can be doing that could be different to have this not be happening anymore. And that's the third question. What is your part in this?
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that no one else played a role, right? But certainly what you can, this is all about focusing on what is 100% within your control. What's 100% within your control is how you are moving through this. How are you responding to this? What are you making mean out of this? And again, if you're coming from that first question, is that why does this keep happening to me? What is it that I need to look at in my life, right? So that I can, if I got myself in, right, Lorna? I can get myself out. Right.
Yeah. And so when you see that, then you start to see what your options are. And that's the last question. What are my options? Do I need to maintain a boundary? Do I need to have a conversation? How do I need to change my behavior to make sure that this changes, right? Because again, what do we always say? When one person changes the dance has to change. Right. And when you recognize that you're not a victim, that's right, and that this isn't just happening to you, but that you play a part, then that's where you take your power back and you realize, I can do something to change this. It doesn't have to be like this.
Choice. It really comes down to, again, feeling out of victim mode becomes more options on the menu, right? So you are responsible for the choices that you make, and therefore getting clear on the actions that you can take based on that. And it's what enables us to move forward. And this is what we're all invested in, is breaking out of those patterns that are no longer serving us, right?
So in closing, where are we pointing the finger? Where are we feeling like a victim? Where are we feeling powerless? And how can we change our perspective and our thoughts about that situation? And what can we do differently to learn this lesson so that we don't have to have this happen anymore? That's the beauty of this. When you change it, then it stops happening.
Right. And we move on. So, all right. So let's get out of powerful talk. Right. So it's not my fault. No, I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Hope that's helpful.
You guys
Look forward to seeing you.
Bye.
Take care.